Good day, fellow boaters, and welcome to another exciting episode of Boat Technics. Outboard engines, ignition barrels. Let's change one. So here we have our culprit in question, this little bad boy. And the reason why we're changing the ignition barrel is because the previous one has been lost. Well, the ignition key itself. Cut your losses, let's just buy a whole new barrel and see how we get on. So these holes you can see here are actually mounting holes that obviously would attach this to the side of your boat. So forgetting those, we're going to concentrate on these little ones first. As you can see, they look a little bit damaged, so I'm assuming at some point this has been had a go at before. So undo these ones and then we're going to lift it off, see what's going on. So taking those ones out, if you're anything like me, get yourself a little plastic container, shove all your important bits in there so you don't lose them. Marvellous. Now we're just going to take this apart. Little back plate just there, push it to one side, and then same again. We can just open this boy up. And that's pretty much what we're dealing with. There's quite a lot going on. Oh, there's a washer there that's come off. So let's figure out where that goes. Over there for now. So here we have the gubbins, the internals, the insides. This is the loom. Obviously the main cable going to the engine side, and this is all the stuff in the middle of. Old switch, probably nothing wrong with it, but because we haven't got the key we find ourselves in a little bit of a pickle. This is the one we are going to be replacing it with, so let's pull those ones out like so. So we're going to pull that one out as well. So as you can see, a red one has just come out of a white one. So instinctively now, straight away, move him down a bit. The white is the main power coming from the engine, so bear that in mind. So we've neatly now detached the wires from the controller. Let's just move them out of the way slightly. Obviously we've still got our linkages connected for throttle and gears. Don't really want to start undoing all of them if we can help it. There's enough going on as it is. Don't want to make life bloody harder. So, little box at the front you can see there is the run and the run and stop. Yeah, it's upside down, but you get the idea. So obviously a lanyard or a lanyard, whatever you want to call it, goes around that when you're cruising. Obviously snaps into place, and then if you fall off the boat while it's under that, obviously that lanyard pops that over and obviously kills power to the engine, so you don't end up with a runaway boat. So that is obviously needs to be disconnected, because that pretty much daisy chains onto the wiring loom as well. So let's start again, and then we've got a ground point just there. So let's undo that. Trusty Ryobi, name drop. So obviously this little bolt we've just undone is actually like an earth stud or a ground stud, so that's pretty much where all that comes from. Now we've disconnected that, let's pull him out as well. Give him a wobble, wasn't in there very tight at all. Disconnect our red. It looks like there's a lot going on, but believe me, it's not that difficult. There we go. Little switch you can see just there. That little switch you can see there is the micro switch. So obviously on the back of the controller there, we've got a little pointer. When that obviously marries back up, that pointer pushes that in so you can actually engage ignition. Sounds like we're going up to space. So pull him off as well from that micro switch, and there we have it. So now we've got them off, let's do a comparison check. We've got, starting from the side, we've got two purples, yes, check. We've got a black and a yellow, oh, yep, check, same fittings on the end. We've got a black, which is obviously the earth or the ground, yes, check. So 4 for 4, can't be too bad. And we've got a red. We've got a red, yes, check, good. And now we've got a yellow and black, oh sorry, a red and a yellow, and we've got a black and a yellow, and a black and a yellow. as it goes, as well as it goes, they're in different positions, but it doesn't really matter. So we've all got the cables that we so desire. Right. Old one. See you later. New one. No, I'm just kidding. We need this one. We need to look after this one. So we've got our wiring loom, obviously, from the engine. Let's put him in there nice and neat. I'm going to try and do it upside down, so the bottom of the cables are running along the bottom, because obviously when we go to put all this in properly, we've got to neatly compress everything into this little section here, like so, because that is where the main cable comes into. So let's wire them up nice there. So we've got the earth or the ground for the kill switch, we've got the ground, and I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I like everything running neatly, just because that's just the way I am. There we go. And then we've also got our ground for the wiring harness itself, which, remember, is going to be coming in this way. So we're going to plonk him as best as we can. Just in there like so. Let's run him round there. We've got our little nut again, or bolt even. Very fiddly stuff. Hope everybody can see. Can everybody see all right? There we go. That's one for one. Then we've got the black. So we're going to be working around this way. Let's keep it sensible. So here we go. Come on, come to daddy. We've got our black. So our black's going to go in there. Black and yellow. We'll start to plonk them down. A bit of fluff. Start to plonk them down. Now what I'll probably end up doing is taking it up and actually putting a nice neat cable tie around it at the end. There we go. Spade connector. Let's pull him out and give us a bit more room. Spade connector goes onto our micro switch, because it's the only one with a spade crimp on the end. Pretty self-explanatory. Now if you remember when we took this off to begin with, this yellow and or black or yellow with a black stripe on this one wasn't being used. It was spare. It was just kind of sat in there not doing anything. So bear that in mind, because I believe this one is the same. That is the spare one. So make a note of that. Putting him to one side. We've got our purple, getting it covered in all the grease. Give him a wipe. And then we've got our purple. However, we have also got a purple on a little alarm sounder. Trying to make this as easy as possible. There's a lot of cables, so if you do struggle, just rewind and come back to it. So, power's going to come out of this purple one, down to this one, and then to that one, and then hence the loop. So it's coming down, giving this power, and then when you turn the key, that should obviously then kill the power to the alarm. We've got our red one, and as we know from when we took it apart, the white one is actually the power, which is going to be that way round. Yeah. So we have a red, and then don't forget our controller. We've got the other red. Give them a good push, make sure they're all the way in. There you go. got our blue and green. A blue and green. So although they're not striped, it's going to go to that one. I know it is. There we go. And we've got blue, green and white stripe, but same thing. That's how it's going. And we've got brown, which is going to the brown and blue, so same thing. And then we've got orange and red, which are not used. So if when we follow this side back to the engine, we already know there's two cables that aren't being used. So there's our spare one. So pretty much that is it. There's a lot going on, as I said, so try and see if you can cast your eyes over this. But this is our loom coming from the actual Morse control. Two reds going into the power, which is signified as the white. X doesn't always mark the spot, as they say. And then we've got the what's this one called again? Purple. That's the one. Purple goes in there, comes down to there, and then thus there should be a circuit obviously completed. So let's just plonk him in there gently for a moment. Put that down. If he will stay somewhere. Stay, boy! Right, follow me over to the engine. So coming on to the engine side of things, obviously got a wiring loom here. This is the cabling coming from the controller. Got a bundle of cables, and then we have a flurry of cables, or we have a flurry and a bundle, whichever way around they might be. And you can see we've got all kinds of colours on this one as well. So we've also got yellow, grey, white, orange, exactly the same colours are pretty much on that one as well. So it's like, well, which one do you use? That is the multi-million-dollar question. Mine are conveniently cable tied up when I came to this engine. If yours aren't, I'll give you a little hint and a tip. Pick the thicker ones. As you can see, these ones are a little bit thicker in size. See what I mean? So the white, in comparison, white, they're all slightly larger apart from that grey one. So, and the yellow one. So, but anyway, pick the thicker ones coming off the engine. So as we know, white is the power going to the controller. So this is the corresponding. So which is the power coming off the loom? I'm going to say it's the red one, because red is positive to me, and then it's literally a case of marrying up the other colours like so. Make sure you give them a good push again, get them in there. Red and orange, as we said from the other side of the controller, not needed. Black, there's the black one, black. That's our ground or our earth. We've got white and green, same on the controller. Do you remember going to the actual choke? White and green. So the loom is slightly different. It's probably an aftermarket loom, to be fair, nonetheless. And then we got brown. There's the blue, blue velvet. There you go. And we got grey. Now here's the secret. A lot of people would put it onto that one. Don't. It's actually the yellow and black. If you remember right from the controller that I did. And then we've got red and yellow is the yellow. Now I'm going to go over to the controller. I'm going to push that little micro switch down. Make sure that the kill switch is in the run position. The amount of times I've struggled my little brain. And we're just going to hold it down. Make sure it fires up. Now this engine's out of water, but nonetheless we'll be alright if we just give it a quick tickle. There we go. That is all working. And that's it. So I'm going to tidy all this up. I'm going to make this all a lot neater so it actually fits conveniently down in that little section there. And then it's just a case of flipping the control back over on itself. And the two little knobbles you can see there on the actual gear selector and throttle lever sits in both of them. One sits on top of the other, so obviously when you turn it over and it's straight, one will sit on top of the other, and in your bottom half of the controller you've got the marrying part that eventually will fold down on top of him. That's fairly square. That washer we pulled out at the beginning, obviously this is the what you call it, throttle control. He sits in there, little ridge you can see at the bottom there. I like to put him in straight, and that corresponds to that ridge, so when you fold him back over, that should marry up to there. Goes in quite easy. If you're wondering what this actually does, on the side there's a little winder, and that increases or decreases this little ring. It pinches it up and then expands it, and that actually clamps around the plastic part, and that is like the throttle sensitivity. So the tighter you do that, the harder it is to push the lever forwards and backwards. So the little washer you can see here that we found buried in the bottom there slides underneath like so, and then when you obviously fold this over to marry up, the washer sits on the outside of this plastic grommet, and then obviously it will stop it from wearing away on the actual fitting itself. So there we go folks, as you can see this is all back together now. There's our old switch, bugger off, and then we've got our key, our ignition, nice little one, even comes with a spare, look folks, how about that? Although we're not in the water, let's fire it up real quickly. The kill switch is on the on, let's just give it a little quick go. Oh, that's meaty. Does it work on the key to turn it off? Oh, beautiful. And that's pretty much it folks. Hope you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Until next time, stay safe, happy boating. Yeah.